If you're preparing for your real estate exam, you know there's a mountain of information to learn, but not all concepts are created equal. Today, I'm breaking down the 10 most critical concepts you must absolutely know and understand to pass your exam. These are the foundational principles that appear repeatedly in different forms. As a broker who's helped countless agents through the licensing process, I've identified the concepts that cause the most confusion and the ones that show up most frequently on the test. Let's dive in with concept number 1. Concept 1, real versus personal property. Distinction between real and personal property is fundamental to real estate. Simply put, real property is immovable. It includes the land and anything permanently that is attached to it. Personal property, on the other hand, is movable. Think furniture, appliances not built in, and personal belongings. The exam loves to test this concept with tricky scenarios. For example, a built-in bookshelf is typically considered real property, while a freestanding bookshelf will be personal property. Remember this simple rule: if it's attached to the property and removing it would cause damage, it's likely real property. If you can pick it up and take it with you, it's personal property. Concept 2, types of ownership. Second critical concept is understanding different types of ownership, particularly the distinction between joint tenancy and tenancy in common. Joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship, meaning if one owner dies, their interest automatically transfers to the surviving owners. Tenancy in common, however, allows each owner to will their share to anyone they choose. There's no automatic right of survivorship. The exam frequently tests this with scenarios about what happens to property when an owner dies. Remember, the key difference is what happens to the ownership interest upon death. Concept 3, agency relationships. Agency relationships define who you represent in a transaction, and this concept appears throughout the exam. As a seller's agent, you have fiduciary duties to the seller: loyalty, confidentiality, disclosure, obedience, reasonable care, and accounting. As a buyer's agent, those same fiduciary duties are owed to the buyer instead. The exam loves to test dual agency situations where you represent both the buyer and the seller. Remember, dual agency requires informed consent from all parties and creates limitations on what you can disclose to either side. Concept 4, fair housing. Fair housing laws are absolutely critical on the exam and in practice. The exam will test your knowledge of protected classes under federal law. These include race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familiar status, and disability. Some states add additional protected classes. The exam frequently presents scenarios asking you to identify fair housing violations. Watch for questions about steering, where an agent directs clients towards or away from neighborhoods based on protected characteristics. Also, be familiar with blockbusting, redlining, and discriminatory advertising. These practices are illegal and appear frequently in exam questions. Concept 5, contracts. Contract law forms are the foundation of real estate transactions, and the exam tests this extensively. For a valid contract, you need offer and acceptance, consideration, legal capacity, legal purpose, and in real estate, contracts must typically be in writing to be enforceable. The exam often tests your understanding of what makes a contract void versus voidable. A void contract was never legally valid to begin with, while a voidable contract can be canceled by one party under certain circumstances. Also, understand bilateral versus unilateral contracts. Most real estate contracts are bilateral, meaning both parties make promises to each other. Concept 6, financing. Financing concepts appear throughout the exam, particularly different types of loans and their features. Know the differences between conventional, FHA, VA, and USDA loans, including down payment requirements and eligibility criteria. Understand amortization, how mortgage payments are applied to principal and interest over time. Early in the loan, most of your payment goes to interest rather than principal. The exam also tests concepts like discount points, loan-to-value ratio, and prepayment penalties. Make sure you understand how these affect the cost of financing. Concept 7, property valuation. Property valuation methods are crucial for the exam, particularly the 3 approaches to value. The sales comparison approach compares the subject property to similar, recently sold properties with adjustments for differences. The cost approach estimates what it would cost to rebuild the structure from scratch, plus the value of the land minus depreciation. The income approach, primarily for investment properties, calculates value based on the income the property generates. The exam will test your understanding of which approach is most appropriate for different property types. Concept 8, land use regulations. Land use regulations control how property can be used and developed. Zoning ordinances divide areas into residential, commercial, industrial, or mixed-use zones. Exam tests your understanding of zoning classifications and variance processes. Easements grant someone the right to use another's property for a specific purpose. Know the different types: appurtenant and gross, by necessity, and by prescription. Understand encroachments, which occur when someone's structure intrudes onto another's property, and the concept of eminent domain, where the government can take private property for public use with just compensation. Concept 9, settlement procedures. Closing process appears frequently on the exam, particularly regarding the TILA RESPA integrated disclosure TRID rules. Know the difference between the loan estimate, which must be provided within 3 business days of application, and the closing disclosure, which must be provided at least 3 business days before closing. Understand prorations, how expenses like property taxes and HOA dues are divided between buyer and seller based on the closing date. Exam also tests your knowledge of closing documents, including the deed, bill of sale, and transfer tax declarations. Concept 10, real estate math. Real estate math questions appear throughout the exam, and many test takers find these challenging. Practice calculating commission splits, prorations, area measurements, and loan-to-value ratios. For commission calculations, remember to convert percentages to decimals. A 6% commission on a $200,000 sale is $12,000. For prorations, determine the daily cost by dividing the annual amount by 365, then multiply by the number of days. These 10 concepts form the foundation of real estate knowledge tested on the exam. Focus your study time on mastering these areas and you'll be well prepared for exam day. Remember, the exam is designed to test your understanding of concepts, not just memorization of facts. Exit Real Estate Experts, we're committed to helping new agents succeed from day one, starting with passing the exam. If you're preparing for your real estate exam or considering a career in real estate, I invite you to reach out to us for guidance. Thanks for watching and good luck on your exam.